Hello, in this video we will deal with the third story about Abraham. Let's read from the Torah, Genesis 18. And the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing in front of him. When he saw them, he ran from a tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the earth, and said, O Lord, if you have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. And Abraham ran to the herd and took the calf, tender and good, and gave it to a young man, who prepared it quickly. Then he took curds and milk and a calf that he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree while they ate. They said to him, Where is Sarah, your wife? He said, She is in the tent. The Lord said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. The way of woman had ceased to be with Sarah. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure? The Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you, about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. He said, No, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from hence, and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham the things which I do, seeing that Abraham surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now, and see that they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from hence, and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And the Lord went his way, as soon as he had left communicating with Abraham. And Abraham returned unto his place. Chapter 19. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and the Lord sat at the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. Let's read from the Qur'an. Surah 11. And certainly did our messengers come to Abraham with the good tidings. They said, Peace. He said, Peace. I did not delay in bringing them a roasted calf. But then he saw their hands not reaching for it. He distrusted them, and left from them apprehension. They said, Fear not, we have been sent to the people of Lot. And his wife was standing, and she smiled when we gave her good tidings of Isaac. And after Isaac, Jacob. She said, Woe to me! Shall I give birth while I am an old woman, and this my husband is an old man? Indeed, this is an amazing thing. They said, Are you amazed at the decree of Allah? May mercy of Allah and His blessing be upon you, people of the house. Indeed, He is praiseworthy and honorable. And then the fright had left Abraham, and the good tidings had reached him. He began to argue with us concerning the people of Lot. Indeed, Abraham was forbearing, grieving, and frequently returning to Allah. This narration exposes great differences between the Torah and the Qur'an. 1. The Torah tells us that God Himself, accompanied by 2 angels, come to visit Abraham. The author of the Qur'an has a different opinion about this visit, insisting that Allah sent several of His messengers to meet with Abraham. 2. In the Torah we read that Abraham offers food to the visitors, and they ate with him. Quran explicitly says that Abraham is frightened because the stranger visitors did not eat his food. 3. The Torah says that God promises Abraham that 1 year from his visit, Sarah will bring birth to a son. While Sarah eavesdrops on the conversation, she laughed. After God asked her the reason for laughing, she is afraid and denied at first. In the Quran Surah 11, Sarah also laughed, but does it openly in front of the angels. And in Surah 51, she grieves because she is an old barren woman. 4. The Torah says that after giving this news, God tells Abraham that He will deal with Sodom and Gomorrah, and sends 2 angels to the cities The Quran mentions that all visitors go to meet with Lord. Apart from a few irrelevant differences in the Quranic version with the number of angels, Abraham's fear of them, and how Sarah was openly laughing, the main discrepancy in the Torah version is that God himself visited Abraham, while the author of the Quran denies such an encounter. The idea of an incarnation of God in visible form is so foreign to Islam that Muslims will passionately deny this text of the Torah and claim that it is corrupt. This episode of Abraham's encounter with God in human flesh, who, together with the angels, ate the food that was offered by Abraham, which is explicitly denied by the author of the Quran, will bring the reader to the only logical conclusion, that God had no problem to come again to earth in human form, as the person of Jesus from Nazareth. Jesus also participated in various human activities, such as eating with sinners, for example. Nevertheless, the author of the Quran systematically negates such a possibility by first rejecting the concept of original sin and the necessity for blood sacrifice as atonement for sin, as explicitly taught by the Torah. Second, by denying that God could take human form in order to meet with Abraham. This automatically leads to the denial of Jesus being God incarnate, who shed his blood to cover the sins of all mankind, to those who accept his ultimate sacrifice. To understand why the author of the Quran contrarily retold important stories from the Torah is to show us how this eventually led to an emphatic denial of the doctrines of the New Testament. This is a key to discerning the true origin of the Quran. In the next video, I will continue discussing differences between the Jewish scriptures and the Quran and the story of Abraham. Thank you for watching. See you next time.